opportunity to meet our whole team or be introduced to who might be able to support you for as you support your English language learners within the classroom. We do have a group of 6 consultants, all of which are focused on different divisional groups. We have elementary and secondary. We also have Aurelia, who is our ELD consultant. And we will also be introducing here to you our supervisor as well as our director. So Sonia Stapleton and Holly Sheely. Today, myself, Stacey Itterman, I will be presenting along with Dean Alexander. Kimberly, Carrie, Rebecca, and Aurelia are also online to be able to support any questions. We also have 3 amazing new additions to our team. These are our English as an additional language learning DDLTs, and they will be supporting ELD enrichment within schools throughout the district. So you might be being graced with the presence and support and expertise of Jessica, Jennifer, or China at each one of your schools. So here we are, as always, when we come together in PG, we are growing and focusing in on one of our district priorities. Today, it's going to be on student success and supporting our students, providing them with responsive learning opportunities and classroom environments by engaging with their whole learning team, who not only does include teachers, CTs, administrators, but also their parents and guardians. That is a huge factor in many of our families coming from who are foreign born, that their families are part of, decisions, goal setting for that student, even sort of identifying what pathway they may be wanting to kind of follow as they work through their classrooms, whether it's in elementary, moving into junior high, high school, potential post-secondary, or even into the workforce. And as always, as teachers, we are mandated by the TQS to provide all our students with effective learning opportunities in the classroom. And this is to be able to support who they are as learners and provide them with holistic, responsive classroom opportunities. And this is an opportunity to do so in gathering some information from their families to be able to support you in how you might best support students in the classroom as well. And we do want to start off with a huge thank you to all of the teachers out there. It definitely is a time of startup in the school year, is always very busy. There's a lot of components that teachers are trying to navigate at different times, focusing on curriculum, focusing on outside factors as well. But we do want to thank you for prioritizing building those relationships with your students, with their parents, with guardians of those students as well, to be able to build that learning team. It's so important that you are taking the time to include all members of the learning team to really support that academic, linguistic, and social development. And you all are experts at doing that, and we see it as we have begun coming out to schools, how much work you are putting into this. So thank you again for your patience, your understanding for your students, and your commitment to creating the most responsive learning environments for your students. So in today's session, we have 3 goals. We are going to look at the why. So why is it important to meet with the families of our English language learners? Things you might want to consider as you plan and prepare for the upcoming conference, and resources that might support your EAL parent conferences as well. So just some terminology as a review, as a bit of a reminder going into the session, or into your conferences rather, because these questions may come up from parents as they are learning to navigate a little bit of our school system and some of the expectations and some of the terminology. So EAL refers to English as an additional language, and that's specifically the programming that students are being provided with. We have ELL, which is the English language learner, that is the student. ESL, which is English as a second language, and it's a specific course code primarily in high schools. So this is not necessarily a term that you would be using in elementary, junior high. And then we have ELD, which is our English language development course, and it is a locally developed developed course that is being run in a number of our schools in person. And then also we do have satellite programs as well that are being run out of St. Isidore. So what does ELL mean? This again may be a question that comes up in your conferences, and it's really important to explain this to parents so that they know how their child will be supported, what measures you are taking, what the school community might be offering, and what, at a district level we are able to offer as well to support. And so the English language learners are students who speak an additional language and are not proficient in English um, in the English language. Our English language learners may be bilingual or multilingual. So that is something to keep in mind that, no longer is English their second language, it may be their third or fourth. And what a blessing to have in your class that you have such a wealth of world views, but also a wealth of experience and languages to kind of draw from. But these students may be students whose English proficiency is lower than their grade level peers. So that's something to just kind of clarify with parents as to what that code and that sort of title means and how students will be supported. And why is it important? So research over the last few years has shown that it is really important for educators to provide opportunities that include parents and guardians on the school planning, the teaching opportunities, sort of the planning and prepping that might be going into the school year, because it shows evidence that the parent involvement and engagement is associated directly with children's academic performance and social competence. So this is a really important way that as a school team, as a learning team, we are inclusive of the parent, the student, to be able to get their views, their input, a little bit of their personal expectations as well, family expectations, and then of course the teacher's point of view, where we're coming in from a slightly different lens, looking at the academic, the child holistically as well, that social emotional growth, and how we are going to be able to access, target, and intentionally program for the needs of that student in the classroom, whether it is academic or linguistic, and in the case of our ELL students. So these are a few points that you may be able to kind of bring forward as you are in conferences with your students' families. Is, why is my child EAL or ELL? And so these are some items that you might be able to share. So English as an additional language, programming and assessment assist English language learners in increasing their proficiency in English language. So they may and definitely will pick up language conversationally, socially, out on the playground, out at the store, engaging even online with peers. But our responsibility through programming is to be able to teach that academic language as well and to increase and support that development in proficiency. And English language learners who are learning English as an additional language must be able to do more than just talk. And so that's that piece I was suggesting is, they may be building the BICS language, which is that basic interpersonal conversational skills, but we need to be able to provide them with opportunities and supports to be able to read, write, talk in academic ways, share ideas through academic English as well, because there is a very strong link between their proficiency in English and then their ability to access senior high school opportunities as well as post-secondary, moving maybe into college, university, or future employment as well. So we are supporting from the ground level here that trajectory going forward in what pathway they may choose to follow. Your conferences they're a great opportunity for you to be able to ask questions, but also to listen and allow parents and guardians to share their story, the student's journey. This is such an important piece because it gives you a really strong understanding of where the student came from, what they may have gone through to be able to come from home country here, getting an understanding of whether that movement was a push or pull. So were they pushed out of the country for certain reasons? Might there have been trauma involved in that journey? But also their journey may have been very celebratory and they're moving here for opportunities as well. Understanding what home country they came from, the culture maybe that they have grown up in. They will now be kind of navigating two cultures, their own personal cultures from home country, but also the culture of Canada and in Calgary as well. And so having an understanding of that will give you some idea or some insight into some expectations on schooling from home country, some behaviors that might come up as well that might seem different than the expectations or behaviors that you might be used to in your classroom. And also having an understanding linguistically of where they're coming from, what their first language is, what literacy they have in home language as well, because that will also impact their ability to acquire the new language, or what it might look like in terms of progression and how much scaffolding maybe you need to do in the classroom to be able to support that progression. It's a great opportunity as well to speak with parents and guardians about their child's strengths and talents and celebrating that so that you can honor that in the classroom, and really, have those opportunities, those pieces of information to connect with that student as well in the classroom. And also too, for many of our students who are arriving from foreign countries, whether it was again for that push or pull reason, it's always really great to check in with the family as to how the student overall is doing, what their wellness is like, how are they adjusting to life in Canada, maybe even with new family around, new home, and keep that conversation open throughout the year, creating a space for these parents to feel safe enough to come back, not just at parent-teacher conferences, but to be able to have those conversations when they're maybe seeing a shift, because we do know that that adjustment period is not linear and it may, have some ups and downs and some changes. So this is a great opportunity to learn from parents at this time. So I'll pass it along now to Dina, who will go into the next few questions around parent-teacher conferences for all of you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Stacy. So, Stacy has done a beautiful job in showing us and walking us through how important it is to get to know who our students are and who their families are as well, and always welcoming them into our buildings. And so when does this happen? When do we get these opportunities to have these conversations? We know that there are scheduled conferences with parents where we can provide input and feedback to parents. We can review language growth. We can set target goals for the year. We can share the benchmarks with them and how the student is doing with their language acquisition as well. And of course, there is the formal reporting periods in January and June. Again, sharing plans for transition, updating benchmark strands for our students. But these are not the only places where we have the opportunity to be transparent with our families and our parents. It is essential that there is ongoing communication with parents and guardians around students' learning and their growth and any gaps in learning that we are noticing. We have to be cognizant that in some cultures, parents don't feel that they can easily reach out to educators, to teachers. And so by us continuously reaching out to them on as often as you can on a regular basis, we are opening the door for them. We are modeling that it's okay to reach out and to ask the questions and to celebrate the little successes that we're seeing in students, because we want the parents and the guardians to be part of that learning journey. So being mindful that we are not keeping our communication just for parent-teacher conferences and reporting periods, but the odd email saying how well the student is doing, conversations on the playground. These are all opportunities, organic opportunities, where we can share student success. As well, making sure that we have parent signature. When we share the benchmark and we share the growth that the students have made on their language acquisition, we can send our benchmark and receive these signatures to ensure that we're being transparent with the parents, that we are sharing student success. This can be a paper signature, this can be a digital signature, and it's simply clicking for a report. So any new students that have arrived into your building, your DLCTs are really good at creating a report for them. If you don't see a report, please have this conversation with your DLCTs and they'll walk you through it, or they will do it for you in how you can create a report for a specific divisional benchmark, and then you will be able to see the signature feature appear, as well as documenting any conversations we have in parents and consultation and reviews. And so you would see the opportunity for consultation and reviews on the left-hand side under the benchmark. Thanks, Stacy. And this is an area where you can go in and can document any telephone conversations you've had or in-person conversations, conversations at parent-teacher conferences. And it's just a way of ensuring we have a paper trail of any conversations we've had with parents to update them about the growth. This is mainly used, it is not necessarily used as anecdotal notes are, where we're documenting behavioral, but we're documenting students' academic success and academic journey. And here is a screenshot of what that would look like, where you would, at the first box, you would see consultation and reviews. You would click on that arrow to expand the box. And once you expand the box, then you can add your information, your detailed information regarding your notes, any goals you've shared, any concerns that were brought up by parents, and if an interpreter was present at that meeting. So how do we communicate with our parents and our families? We are always, as teachers, we wear many hats. And so we are always sharing content and language objectives with parents. So you share students' language progress through the benchmark, and we are sharing students' progress by showing them samples of how the students are progressing in their language acquisition and how they are accessing the content. What have the students achieved? What will they be working on next? Allow for parents to have input and allow for parents to ask questions as well. As a parent coming new to Canada, acquiring the language possibly themselves, or the students are acquiring the language, they have their hopes, they have their goals for their kids. And so it is our privilege to get to work with those students and share the successes with the parents as to how they are doing both in their language acquisition, but as well as how they're doing in accessing the curricular content that we are teaching in our classrooms, and showing parents examples of how we're doing that and how we're supporting and how we're scaffolding that language for the student. As I said, as teachers, I know here it shows 2 hats, but I know darn well that you wear very many hats in supporting the students every day. But the 2 main hats that we wear is our content objective and our language objective hats. So with our content objectives, these are our programs of studies. These are our curricular outcomes that we are following outlined by Alberta Education. It is very grade specific, and achievement is indicated on the progress report. So we are showing, when we are talking about content objectives, what are students learning? What do they know? What are they doing? But with our language objectives, it is based on the Alberta Education benchmarks. It's based on the acquisition of a second or an additional language. It's multiple year trajectory. Like, for example, the grade 4 to 6 benchmark, the divisional benchmark, is for grades 4, 5, and 6. For those 3 years, we use it. And it determines the student's current English language proficiency level. So how will the students show what they were learning? So how are they showing us their language acquisition when it comes to reading, listening, speaking, and writing? Sometimes those 2 hats can be hard to differentiate between. But our favorite quote is that language and content are inextricably linked. content is the inhale while language is the exhale. So when we are teaching the content, in order for them to express and share their understanding of the content, it is through language. And so that's why it is important that we address both the content objectives and the language objectives. Now, when we're getting ready for those parent-teacher conferences, there is some things to keep in mind, to be mindful of in before the meeting, during the meeting, and after the meeting. At all times, our focus is to make sure that we're being transparent with parents, and we want to build those relationships with parents. We want them to feel welcome in our buildings, to feel welcome in our classrooms as well. And if they feel welcome, if we've worked on building that relationship, then they will start reaching out to us, asking the questions, anything that they're inquiring about. So as we said, you can email them, you can call them, any opportunities that are there to communicate with parents. During the parent-teacher conferences, again, welcoming them, listening to them, and providing any support, whether it be an interpreter, whether welcoming other family members in to help them interpret, using tools, technology to help interpret, any way where we can share our messaging with them. And then afterwards, continue that communication. Again, we're not waiting for the next parent-teacher conference or progress report, but we're reaching out to our families as often as we need to. And so when we're meeting with our families, it might not look the same as other parent-teacher conferences with some of our other families. It might be when a family comes in, it might be beyond the mom and the dad and the sibling. It might be a grandmother, it might be an aunt, it might be an uncle, it might be a neighbor. And we need to be okay with that because the family, the definition of family is different for every culture. It's an opportunity for us to listen. It's an opportunity for them to ask questions and to make sure that we're continuously working on building on that relationship. Sometimes when we're meeting with our EAL families, trying to share as all the information and providing all the feedback and answering all the questions in that 10-minute period might not be possible. You might have to book 2 blocks when you're meeting with some of your EAL parents. You might have to meet with them outside of the parent-teacher conference days as well. They could be working different hours that don't fit into the schedule of parent-teacher conferences. So we need to be okay with just looking beyond what we've set up in our buildings or as a district, find opportunities to communicate, find opportunities to connect with parents, and to ensure that you're sharing students' success with them. Some resources we want to share with you that we have our monthly newsletter that comes out. So if you have not subscribed to the EAL newsletter, please use that QR code and subscribe and join the list. You will receive this newsletter monthly at the beginning of every month. And we always highlight a country and share background information of that country. We highlight different resources that we've created new for that month. We share picture books and any upcoming PG as well. So it's a great communication tool between our team and the rest of the district. So we'd love to see your name on our subscription, sorry, for the new EAL newsletter. As well, we have the EAL course site. You can access this by going on to EPD, and then there's a link down below on the left-hand side. We will share the slide deck with you so you'll have a quick access to it. Once you get on the EAL course site, there's different divisions that you can go into and explore. And here we talk about different toolkits, EAL toolkits. We talk about resources as well. We have our YouTube channel for previous PG recordings, and anything new that we create as a resource is always posted on our EAL core site. As well as our benchmarks are available to be printed off. So if you'd like to have a copy of your divisional benchmark, whatever grade you're teaching, right there beside you at your desk, so you're aware of the language outcomes that need to be addressed for every level of language proficiency. If we're not aware of what we're looking for, then we won't know what to teach and address in our daily teachings and interactions with our students. So it's a really good idea to print off the benchmarks or bookmark them and you have them on your laptop as well. That'll help you in your conversation with parents, and that'll help you to plan in your programming and your assessments as well. Interpreter information is available on our core site as well as EPD. And here you see the link as well for it. So please note that the tracking forms for interpreters are now all digital. They've moved this year. Interpreters will complete the form online and submit it to the school administration for approval, which will then be sent to the supervisor here at St. John. It can be a timely process, so it's very important that we pre-plan for these interpreters as much as you can in order to make sure that you have them, especially for parent-teacher conferences. We have other opportunities. Sometimes interpreters are not available, and interpreters have, we've shared with schools when to use the interpreters and when to try to use other tools instead of the interpreters. And so using technology, there's various apps that are available to use. That we have multilingual school-based and district staff that are available to help in your buildings as well. Sometimes families bring in a relative or a friend to help them with interpretation. And so it's not always necessary to call in for an interpreter, and we would like to reference our interpreter guidelines here. So if you'd like further information of when to use an interpreter and when to use the other tools, please access this guideline to help you in supporting that. The rule is if you're going to access an interpreter, most likely it's to discuss very sensitive matters, and then we would need an interpreter for that. So as always, it is also a school-based decision with your admin team as to which situations will need an interpreter and which situations you could use other tools for. The interpreter information is here on EPD as well as I said on the core site. So once you click on the guidelines and click on that interpreter on EPD, you'll be able to access any other information. And a list of our interpreters is under staff contacts, which is within the useful links in our district intranet site. So our English learners, parents have high hopes for their child's scholastic well-being and wish to contribute to that success. When parents feel that they are part of an inclusive learning culture and have a clear awareness of their role in their child's learning, true partnership can occur. And that's exactly what we want. We want them to be part of the learning team and the teaching team. We want them to be one of the main partners in that relationship. And so the more we include them, the more we communicate with them, the more support we would get. At the end, if all of us are working together, we are ensuring all our students are finding success in our classrooms. Some upcoming professional growth sessions you might want to put into your calendars is, of course, October 10th is the CSSC PG Day. So look for EAL PG opportunities that will be posted on the professional platform. October 15th, we are doing an evidence collection and annotating sample session, and that will be recorded as well. On October 21st, we have EAL students reporting a no mark, not yet. So if you want to find out more about when to give a no mark and a not yet, please join us for that session. And November 13th, best practices for updating the benchmarks. Again, all of these will be recorded, posted on our EAL core site, and shared out with DLCTs as well. But we would love to see you join us for all of them, a few of them, whatever you're willing to share your time with. At this time, I will be stopping the recording and we will be open to answering any questions. As always, you can always put your questions in the chat or turn on your cameras, ask your questions, or email your EAL consultant. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, and we wish you a safe journey home.